Hello. Hi.
Hi there. Sorry, new computer.
No worries. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to meet you.
It is nice to meet you too. I'm trying to get this. I know we got to get. I do mine on my iPad, so I have. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, a bit quiet, but I don't know if that's my volume, which it is. There we go. That's better.
All right. Yeah. So thanks for joining. Yeah, we I said short notice. So we've been trying to do this for a couple of weeks, and things did not go well. Anyway, what a world! What a world! So anyway.
Oh yeah.
So do you podcast with Jimmy, or what's your?
I don't. So I used to do an audio podcast a few years ago, and then I took a break. So I used to do mostly podcast about 2000 AD.
Mm-hmm.
But I've just started back a couple of so I've only got a couple of episodes out, but I'm doing a video cast now. So
so you're used to doing this.
Well, I wouldn't quite say used, because it's weird actually, isn't it, when you
Yes, and we're also, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to download a background. I normally use like a background. So oh, what's a good background here? I like this one. People are like, you know, they're a little bit over just talking on Zoom, you know?
Yeah.
Real people. So and here's John. See, now Jimmy's the last to arrive, so what the heck? Okay, let me fix my background. Here we go.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going? Hey, Stacey, I'm John.
Hi, John. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good.
I like your shelves back there. What do you got in the shelves?
You can see it's a bit messy, but luckily my body's hiding the dirty washing. So
Hey, John. How's it going?
Pretty good. Oh, what's the background this time?
Background is a Bruegel painting. I couldn't, you know, the thing about Willow is that it doesn't really have any great visuals. Like there's no iconic scenes from it.
Yeah.
It really is a kind of a dud cult film. You know? So,
yeah, I mean, yeah. The thing that I think is really beautiful is like when there's like the handmaiden, and she's like, and when the title screen comes up, it's a really beautiful shot, but it's like no one really remembers it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, we can talk about that, but yeah. So hey Jimmy. So
Sorry, Black Pink song's on. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
It is banging. Go listen to it. It's so good. You now look at me. Look at you now look at me. How you like that?
Well, you gotta get a fan.
Jimmy, you should just rock the eye patch while you're at it.
I know. I was actually gonna look for it. Like it's this side here. It looks fine. It's a little red, but it's like it happened twice today. It woke me up twice where it's just searing pain for 20-30 minutes. Like something's in it, like have a tear in it.
Yeah.
Jamie's Smart's partner, who's an optometrist, and she was like, I think it's a corneal something tear erosion or whatever. I'm like, oh, great. She's like, so she said, go buy this, go buy that. And I put this gel in last night. It didn't really help, but I guess I got to keep doing it. And I tried to make an appointment with an eye doctor yesterday, but they haven't called back. So.
Oh, yeah. So Jim didn't hear back from the doctor?
No, and I don't know. I'm sure they're pretty busy and probably backed up, but
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if they're even open.
Well, I mean, I emailed the website, and her partner, the other doctor on the website, answered me and said, hey, give us a call in the morning. She might be able to see you by next week. I hope, or guessing, whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I called, left a message.
Yeah.
That my eye was falling out. And
well, if you can't see
Where's some-
that, I would just keep calling. I highly recommend her. She's just so good.
well, I mean, she's Asian, so that's a plus already. So
Well, she is. But she's just like the nicest doctor I've ever gone to for any. Like, she just explains every single thing about what might be wrong and how to take care of it.
What's to remember, like, this happened 13 years ago, and like Sarah was saying, Jennifer was saying, like, it could be from a previous injury. I go, but from 13 years ago, really? Maybe, I don't know, but it's like I've never had this problem. Like maybe once or twice a year I would have this problem, I think, but it's been like now for the past 2 weeks, it's been a few times a week now. And like last time it was twice, and last time when I did it 13 years ago, I guess I hadn't cut my nails recently, and I was gesticulating wildly, and I scratched my eye. I remember going out, I recorded with Joe, and I was talking. I was like, oh, God, that hurt. I go out an idiot. I scratched my eye. And I go to dinner with John, and Emily was with us, I think. Yeah, and John's girlfriend at the time, and he like went and bought me eye drops. I'm like, this is really hurt. I got to go. And I went to the doctor, and she was Asian. And she was like, what happened? I go, I'd like to tell you I got in a fight with a bear. But I didn't. She was like, that bear got you good. You tore your cornea. I'm like, God damn it. So that was at Heroes Con where I wore a patch. I don't know if you were there, Heidi, that year. It was like 2007.
I think I was, because I was looking at your photos. And
yeah.
who? Yes, Warren Ellis was there?
No, I don't think so. It was like me and no, actually I don't remember. But
yeah.
So it's been really bad, and like it brings, like, obviously makes my eyes start really watering really badly, but it's so painful. And I'm just like fucking crying, stop it. It's so frustrating. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I could lose an eye. I don't know.
No.
Have you tried to do like an eye wash, just like in the faucet, just kind of like
like
your eye under
like
and
flushing it, like under the shower today, my weekly shower. I washed it up. I was like, all right, but I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Hi, Stacey. Good to see you.
Hello, gorgeous. Yeah, right.
You met everybody, I'm sure, already. Good.
I did, yeah.
My matcha dalgona coffee.
Well, I have wine, but it's Friday night at 9 p.m. here, so it's allowed, isn't it?
Oh, no, I mean, I'm within reach of a whiskey bottle, so I'm not, 4 o'clock here, so why not?
Jimmy, I feel like that coffee glass gets bigger and bigger each week I see you.
Whoa.
No, it's the same one. It's the same one I drink. Yeah.
Oh, it is?
No, I do have another one that's thinner, but it's still the same amount.
Oh, okay.
You keep your pasta in that one, do you? The big
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
No,
My rice in the other one.
I went to my neighbor's, and she made dalgona coffee, and it was so strong we couldn't even finish it.
Wow.
Well, you got to be like, you can't like overdo it. Come on, people.
Can you guys hear me all right? Is my audio be louder? Because I put in headphones.
Like on my end, it's like it's not your video and your audio is not syncing. It's like a little off, but
yeah, same here.
Let's see if this is improving. It's been
they're dancing around the maypole in your picture in the back there.
Yeah, right? It's been so long since
I sent a link to everybody if you want to check out the new Blackpink video, how you like that. But
oh God. Well, I think our next one should be the long-awaited.
I stayed up till 5 a.m. to watch the premiere. I was up anyway, but I was like, I'll go to bed around 3:30 or 4. I'm like, oh, premiere's at 5. I could stay up.
What was that? Sorry, what was that for?
For what?
What did you stay up to watch?
For the Blackpink video. It's their new video, it's their new song in like a year, and they're actually premiering tonight in Jimmy Fallon as well, so you can check it there.
Wow.
Well, obviously, via satellite, but
right. Do I sound any better now?
Your audio is synced up with your video.
Okay.
But it's a little muffled now.
Oh, I'm using cheap headphones. That's the problem. So which do you think is better?
Does it sound like this?
It sounds. I mean, this sounds pretty good in the sense it's like it is clear and like and synced up and everything. I think this sounds better than
You're not breaking up as much as you were
Yeah.
for me
Yeah.
before.
All right. Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's
There you
better.
go.
It's
So
like
I'll
you like my Muppets tie?
Oh,
One of my
nice.
listeners sent it to me for my birthday.
Aw.
Look, they're all wearing ties. Isn't that cool?
Aw. Ties on tie. Ties on tie.
Perfect. Yeah. One of my listeners from France sent it to me. She's like, "Hey, come look inside there. I love it. What do you mean? It's so good."
I'm not
She actually
making
lives
any comment on that accent.
She actually lives in the UK right now. She's married to a British guy, but
Stacey, where are you located?
I live in South Shields, which is in the northeast of
Okay.
England.
she's a Geordie.
Yeah. I'm a
Oh,
Geordie.
Geordie.
yeah. I wasn't
But
going to
not on
hazard
the
a guess.
shore.
Yeah, I wasn't going to guess.
I'm just going to tell you, you've gone a little bit too far north there, Jimmy. You've gone
No,
right
I
to
didn't.
Scotland.
I'll come back down. I'll try to find a happy meeting for Bolton in Scotland. I don't
We're
know.
really just about an hour away from Edinburgh, actually, so it's quite close
Edinburgh.
to Scotland. That's where we are. About an hour away from Edinburgh.
Oh, okay. All
One
right.
day I will visit. One day I'll be there.
Well, you got to just get in the car and drive around. I mean, you could hit pretty
Yeah.
much every city in England in a day, so it doesn't really, Or
Well, when I
excuse me,
go,
Great
I
Britain.
often
Great Britain.
travel. I usually travel all over, but I never get too north.
You haven't been up to see me.
I know, that's the thing. That I know, like, well, the last couple of years we went north because of Thought Bubble, but I never went west north because I was like, oh, like if I go that way, I can go to like Liverpool and see Lee and Leah and John, and then I could hit Manchester and see a couple of friends. I go over to see you, and then maybe hit Edinburgh, and so that's a plan if we ever get to travel again. We'll see.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Or throw caution away. I'm just gonna go. I'm booking my flight tomorrow. Whatever.
Well, you won't get in because we're
banned.
U.S. is on. We're
Yeah.
banned. So
Yeah, we can't actually go anywhere because
I'll
we're.
fly into a country I can fly into, like, and then just take a boat over, like to Asia or something.
I don't know. They don't like us COVID Americans.
Yeah.
I don't like us either, so I don't blame
Yeah,
them.
I think we have the biggest death rate now, actually. So it's you better
Yeah.
think you'd want to come here right now.
Yeah, England's
awful.
not got a great leader either, so they're not doing too well
Yeah,
over
it's
there.
fun.
So.
It's funny how the more of a jackass right-wing dictator the leader is, the more people die from COVID-19.
so weird.
Yeah, isn't it? It's so
weird.
odd.
And look, I want to just, like, John and Jimmy, we've been doing this for 13 weeks now.
Wow.
And we skipped 1 week.
Mhm.
And, we did it. We flattened the fuck out of that curve.
Yeah.
I mean, our rates, we did it. Honestly, we are gone from the highest to the lowest in America. Our new
Yeah.
cases are the lowest in America. We did it because New York's strong. And now
Yeah.
all you other fuckers are going to ruin it.
My home state of Florida,
I think
the
it's
fucking
entirely
governor
down
of Florida,
to
man.
free, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, my home state of Florida cases are spiking because you're fucking idiots.
Yeah.
And your governor of Florida, man, who is the ultimate Florida man, keeps open. Like they fired the scientist who was keeping track. Like, she started her own website. It's so awesome to show the real cases, because they're like hiding how many cases they have.
Oh my God.
But I mean, I guess it makes sense if you don't test enough, you won't see as many cases. So that's
You got to slow it down.
Yeah,
you got to
yeah.
You
slow.
gotta slow
and
down
it's-
the testing
yeah.
so you have fewer
Yeah.
sick people. Yeah. Well, that's why they're also going to get rid of Obamacare, because if you have no health insurance, there's no illness. So
Yeah,
it
yeah, for
really
sure.
makes 100% sense.
I believe in sticking my head in the sand. Absolutely, yes.
So, all right. So,
Let's
we
do it.
have just on time. Well, we have a guest here,
Cool.
well, a listener from my family. So we should totally
Nice.
get going. Hi, Alice.
I
Thank you
invited
for
some
coming.
people. I don't know if they're coming, but
Yeah.
I told them to
So
come. We'll see.
I told you Summer Fridays, but yeah. Hey, Alice. Hey, I'm gonna actually mute
Alice.
your. This is my cousin Alice. She lives in
Hi,
LA.
cousin Alice.
Hi, Alice.
I'm actually gonna mute your video though. Is that okay? Because we're just gonna record and then.
Well, it's gonna have to be okay because
Yeah.
you're gonna do it.
Yeah, you're gonna come back. If you want to come back at the end, we'll take some. If you have some comments, Alice needs to join us because I think she can explain a lot
Sure.
about Willow that the rest
Yeah.
of us need.
Yeah, near the end. Let's do it.
Okay.
And just for
Okay.
heads up, Alice, I'm not crying and weeping a lot because of the state of the world.
Because Willow is amazing.
Because Willow's amazing. Something's wrong with my left eye. I need to go to the doctor, and it keeps tearing up. And
No worries.
if I keep doing this, that's why. Yeah.
Okay.
I
should
love
put
Willow
shades
so
on.
much. I love it.
Jimmy, what if you just put sunglasses on?
That's true.
Just be like a total diva.
No, well, for me,
Oh,
it won't
sweet.
work for you, but for me, I can sing, he wears his sunglasses at night. So
Yeah. Now, welcome to Comic Douche Insider. And
Okay. All right. Well, let's get going. We
All
are
right, let's do
running already at 10
Yeah.
minutes past, so let's get going. So
All right.
I see I've been recording all of this. So
sweet. Put the video out. Why not?
What's the name of your partner? Joe. Joe, here is the place to start cutting. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Comic Beat Insider. I am Heidi MacDonald, the editor-in-chief of The Beat at comicsbeat.com. Is that right? Yes.
And I'm Jimmy Aquino, the host of Comic News Insider, the weekly podcast covering comic books, TV, film, and pop culture. Come find us at comicnewsinsider.com.
And I am John Hoche, and you could find me at johnhoche.com if you want to.
And we have a new guest with us this week, Stacey. Introduce yourself. Stacey, can you hear me?
I'm Stacey Whittle. I have a
Stacey.
yes, I'm Stacey Whittle. I have a geeky video cast called Whittle Waffle. It's intimate sort of one-on-one chat where I talk about what geeky stuff I'm reading and looking at and enjoying. So there you go.
Excellent.
Nice. Well, welcome, Stacey. And Jimmy and John, it's great to be reunited. We took a week off just because it's a miracle we've been doing this as regularly as we have. But anyway, this
You're
week,
welcome.
yes, is the one that I have been waiting for because, you know, we've been looking at cult films. So, and I said, we have to do a film that is a cult film, but only in my family, apparently. Now, I have a large family.
That's not true.
Right. I know it's not true. I have a large family of, you know, I've alluded to my family in Maine. My uncle had 6 children, and they were pretty much weaned on Willow, I think. I think at one point they watched
Weaned on Willow.
Weaned on Willow. They watched it every day, I think,
dirty.
for a while. They only owned 2 VHS tapes. One was Rob Roy, the original Disney version.
Oh, nice.
One was Willow, and so they apparently alternated them. So anyway, and we will possibly have a family member as a guest at the end of our discussion to actually come in and correct me on my family lore. But anyway,
as long as they pay the entry fee.
Yes.
$500.
But what is, aside from the fact that my family, my LARPing fantasy obsessed family, watched Willow every day for like 2 years.
Wait a minute. LARPing? You didn't tell us about this.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about Willow, and then I can kind of dig into the.
Oh, no. We're going into LARPing. Tell me about.
Well, they LARP.
Go ahead. Sorry, no. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We'll come back to that. Anyway, so what's interesting otherwise about Willow? Early directing effort by Ron Howard. I think it was maybe his 2nd or 3rd film. I'm not sure. I know he'd made Cocoon before that.
He did Cocoon by then,
Yeah. So, and of course, he's a very accomplished director now, but one of his earliest films. But most important, this was George Lucas's attempt to do the fantasy genre. He had done science fiction with Star Wars, obviously, and then he did pulp with Raiders of the Lost Ark. This was to be his 3rd genre.
Yeah.
He was ready for a franchise.
This was supposed to be his 3rd trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't quite misfire. It didn't quite fire. But I will say, aside from Star Wars and Raiders, it's better than anything else that better than anything else that George Lucas did. You know, it's way better than Howard the Duck.
Oh man.
I think it's way better than Young Indiana Jones. I mean, I just think
I don't know. I
think aside from, well, we could talk about that. We could talk about where it fits in the George Lucas oeuvre also. But and we've been joined by another one of my family members, so they can explain.
Exciting.
My cousin Ellen has joined. Yeah. Oh, see, Ellen's also. Ellen, hi. She's saying hi.
Then if I'm Clan MacDonald.
Yes. So we're going to mute the video, Ellen, but we're going to come back. Yeah, we're going to come back at the end, and we're going to have my family come in and join us and tell us what they think about Willow. So very excited by this. Anyway,
Cool.
so yeah, and so Willow is a fantasy film, and I've seen it many times. So as we always do, I've kind of explained mine. So let's go around and talk about everybody's first experience with Willow.
Stacey, since you're the guest, why don't you go ahead and do it?
Oh, okay. So I did see it when I was fairly young. We didn't go to we say pictures. It's what is it? Movies. Go to the movies. You go to the pictures. We didn't go to the pictures to see it because we just didn't go to see anything much of the pictures because there was a lot of us, and so we had to wait until it came out on VHS, and it was somebody's turn to pick it off the shelf in Blockbuster Videos.
Nice.
Very exciting. And so we watched it as a family as well and became obsessed with it as well. So I've watched this film a lot.
How old were you when you first saw it?
So, well, it came out in 1988, so I would have been 11. So it would have been at least 2 years after that, I would imagine, because it took about that long for stuff to come out of VHS at that point, didn't it? Shocking for the youngsters that you had to wait. Oh, the wait. So yeah, about 13-ish, I think. So not little, but but I just loved this film. But I don't know how much of that was my disgustrous, lustrous feelings for Val Kilmer with his top off for most of it, to be honest.
Well, we'll get to that, Stacey. We'll definitely get to that.
That's
yeah, Jimmy's
all
wiping
of my notes.
Yeah, Jimmy's wiping his brow at the mention of Madmartigan for sure. Like everybody's wiping their brow. Yeah. I know.
More than my brow. Wait, what?
Yeah.
I do actually wonder if this is one of those films. Do you know there's like a sort of this cache of films that when you see it when you're young, you're obsessed with it and it becomes so important. And I'm thinking of things like The Goonies and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Whereas people, when they see it for the first time as adults, they don't seem to get it. And I often wonder if Willow is one of those.
Well, we'll find
if you have
out.
that childhood link with it.
Because Jimmy has never seen it, so we'll soon find out. So,
yeah.
Well, I was getting to that. You spoiled it.
I'm sorry.
I thought we were here to talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer's best friend, but whatever. Yes, got it in, John. Before you did. We both made the same joke earlier. I only saw it. It's one of those ones I thought I'd seen growing up, or maybe pieces of it, and then realized I hadn't. So I just watched it last week, and we'll see what I think about it. John, when was the first time you saw it?
I saw it again when I was younger. I didn't see this one in theaters, but I knew of it because of like the trailers on TV. My first experience was I was like at a dollar store as a kid, and the Tonka little figures that they had of Willow, because the toy line was really bad for Willow, unfortunately. And I was like, but they were intriguing enough because I remember seeing this like two-headed dragon. I was like, well, that's cool, and like these trolls and stuff. And then I finally got my hands on it as a kid on VHS, and like everyone really got obsessed with it and just would watch it every day. The rat dogs scared the crap out of me, and I had nightmares about them. The trolls, I had nightmares about them. But then there's so much about this movie that just like is so iconic in my mind that it's one of my favorite ones.
So it made a strong impression on you as well as a little kid. So interesting. All right, Jimmy, tail of the tape.
Yep. You mean like what I thought of it? I really liked it. I was surprised. Like, I didn't think I'd go and not liking it. I certainly had no sort of, either way I was going to go and I'm going to hate it, I'm going to like it. But, it was really charming. Like, and then after I looked it up, seeing that it was, it was young Warwick Davis was what? 18 at the time. His first major feature film not major feature film, but first he played a lead in a major feature film. And we know his story was he was 10 hanging around the Star Wars sets, and they decided to use him, and then he ended up being, of course, in a couple of them. and he was great. Like, he did a really great job. I'm turning my video off because this is really bugging me. Sorry.
You want me to start? You want me to? Do you want us to?
No.
Are you
No,
good?
we're fine. Yeah,
Okay.
let's turn the video off.
I'm
'cause
sorry,
it's, like,
Jimmy.
bugging me.
I'm really sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah. I'm feeling so shitty. I wish Dr.
But
has, picked up.
it's okay.
Anyway. Okay. So yeah. So you were Warwick Davis, yes.
So it was, charming, like, seeing people. I knew who were in it just from, like, pop culture. I knew Val Kilmer was in it. I knew Joanna Whalley was in it, who they eventually met there and got married because of it. And but I, like, so surprised by other people. I'm like, oh, look at, there's Billy Barty, there's Tony Cox, as some of the dwarves. And so that was kind of fun to see and recognize. And then, like, the brownies, seeing Kevin Pollak, and then
That's the weirdest casting for me in this whole thing.
Yeah, Kevin Pollak and Rick Overton, who I love Rick Overton as a stand-up back in the day. We'll get into how the brownies were in a completely different movie, but they were in their own movie. They were not in Willow. They would stop by Willow on occasion. Oh, hey guys, how you doing? Oh, what are you doing here? And then they go off to their own movie. But I quite enjoyed it. Like, there's definitely some over the topness, and some of the effects weren't that great, but at the time they were considered, groundbreaking, like the whole morphine thing, and but yeah, overall I had a really good time with it. Val Kilmer was great at it, and yeah, he looked luscious, but but so did Joanna Whalley. I could see why.
She does.
I know. I mean, that was.
Gorgeous.
I mean, when you watch this movie, you're like, oh my God, they're so cute together. They're so hot. And then you're like, oh, they got married. Thank God. I mean, there was so much chemistry between them. It was just, like
she's so
pouring
beautiful.
off of the screen. So,
Yeah.
that, and I do think that's one of the, I mean, so there's a lot of, what I really want to talk to with you guys is the echoes between this and Star Wars, because there's so many things that are just double Star Wars.
And also the Bible.
and the Bible, and also
And the Lord of the Rings, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely,
yeah.
Sure, yeah.
But Lucas actually came up with a story for this before Star Wars. He actually had done it in 1972, and it was just one of those things he had kicking around. And of course, obviously, sitting on, after you make Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark, you go whatever you want off the shelf, and Hollywood says, let's do it. So I think, so his love of Warwick Davis, like, we hate the Ewoks so much in Return of the Jedi.
Speak for yourself.
I was going to say, speak for yourself.
Well, the Ewoks were,
What?
yeah, the Ewoks were a controversial element, let's put it that way. But it was the first time that we really saw that George Lucas loved little people in costumes, and I think Howard the Duck is also kind of a example of that.
Yeah. Well, even R2D2 also.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
They shoved a little person in there too.
Yeah, and then
It's,
the more
Kenny Baker, isn't it, who actually has a little
Yeah.
cameo in Willow. He's in the crowd scene in the band at the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, nice.
yeah.
Also
But,
with sorry, Heidi, just
No,
with
no, go on,
Jack
Stacey.
Parker, I think he's called, who was one of the Time Bandits. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
No, I
with
love
the
Time
Bandits.
Bandits. Oh my
It's awesome.
God.
But and they're really quite famous actors, Kenny Baker and Jack Parkin, sorry, I forget his name, but they are just in the background, aren't they? Which is a bit odd in Willow.
But wasn't it also originally called Munchkins?
Originally, yeah.
Yeah, which is, I'm glad they changed the name.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because in talking about Time Bandits, in this time before massive amounts of CGI, if they wanted to make a movie about a smaller race of humans, in this case, they were called the Nelwyn. They were dwarves, Lord of the Rings analog. You hired actors who were actual little people. Now they just CGI them down. So there was so much more work for little people.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that other movie, Under the Rainbow? I love that movie.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Love that movie.
So, anyway, but yeah, so, but I mean, as far as the fantasy goes, I think what's interesting about George Lucas's little people fascination is everything gets littler and littler and littler in Willow. Like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like they have, the village of the Nelwyn. And then suddenly we're like, oh, there's even tinier. There's little brownies. And
Yeah.
we have French accents inexplicably.
Yeah. Well, George Lucas likes to throw accents into his characters. Like especially in the Star Wars films. It's like, whoa, easy on those accents, buddy.
Well, there also is a fan theory. I think it's a fan theory that this is the same universe as Star Wars,
No, then it makes sense. Okay.
and that Willow is the precursor to Star Wars. Like it's like a long time ago. So, but I don't know if validity they have in that.
Yeah. So what else do we like about this?
Well, I like the little like things they threw in there, which I did a little deep dive research. I watched a documentary or making of film that was on the DVD. They had it on YouTube. I found a couple of them actually, and how these little like just fun little Easter eggs, like the two-headed monster was called Ebersisk, and it was named after Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah.
And also the other one was the other critic of the time, Pauline Kael. General Kael was named after Pauline Kael. And things like that. But
A very Darth Vader character.
Yeah. And
He didn't get the part for Darth Vader, actually. Pat Roach is one of the things I really wanted to talk about because sort of legendary British actor Pat Roach, who was in the Indiana Jones movies, as well as he's in quite a lot of movies, but what he's really famous for over here is he was a wrestler first.
Nice.
But it was like British wrestling, which is not anything like American wrestling.
British wrestling's like, pardon me, but I'm about to go through the headlock, sir. Great, thank you.
It was on a Sunday morning, and it was the most comedy, ridiculous thing, and it was all. It tended to be big fat men. It was the oddest thing. YouTube it with it, but Pat Roach did that, and then he went on to be in a series which was really, really popular here called Auf Wiedersehen Pet. So, do you know? Have you ever seen Auf Wiedersehen Pet, Jimmy?
No, but I love the name of it. That's great.
It's the reason why it's got the pet at the end is because two of the main characters are Geordies. So
nice.
And the actor Timothy Spall started there as well. And you know Timothy Spall.
Oh, he's great. Yes, of course.
He's awesome with a Brummie accent. And then Pat Roach. And this ran for several years, for quite a big time in the 80s, and came back in the early noughties. And he's kind of so familiar to British people for that.
Oh, wow.
Also, Jean Marsh, who plays the evil queen, who was in Upstairs Downstairs here. So she was like a household TV name, as was Patricia Hayes, who plays the, who I absolutely adore. She was also in Neverending Story. You might recognize her from that. But she was in Benny Hill and Hancock's Half Hour. So this, I think partly maybe why I like it is because it is a real mix between British and American coming together and there's so many recognizably British things that make it really appealing for people on this side of the pond as well. But Pat Roach I did want to talk about.
Nice. Well, they always shoot over there.
The interior stuff was Elstree, but then the exterior stuff was in New Zealand, I think.
I meant like the Star Wars films are shot over there as well. Some of those.
Yeah. But actually, the New Zealand thing, I'm glad you brought that up, Stacey, because I mean, this movie is very lo-fi, and I do think that's why it kind of has this appeal. You know, it's not like these modern CGI movies where just everything is fake, and you know, it just kind of like everything in Willow is. You know, there's so little CGI that, you know, everything is done in camera and like, you know, they'll just be standing there and there's these beautiful mountains behind them. I'm like, where is this? And I'm like, it's got to be New Zealand. And I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. Where of course they shot the Lord of the Rings films as well. I mean, if you're going to film a fantasy about a little race of small people going off and rescuing the world, it's got to be shot in New Zealand. So but yeah, you know, that's really cool.
Wasn't there, they wanted to shoot in somewhere in Asia, in China, but they wouldn't let them, so they just went there and like took pictures and used them, superimposed them or something. Wasn't that something like that happened? I think I read
that as well, but I couldn't work out which bit that they'd used that footage for, which part of the film it was. Yeah,
they wanted to shoot a scene in China, I think it was, but then Chinese camera was like, no. They're like, well, can we come take pictures? They're like, sure. And they took pictures of backgrounds. And I guess they superimposed the backgrounds into these scenes. And I, again, don't know, like Stacey said, which scene that was, but who knows?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Pat Roach though, because I mean he is really known mostly here as that big guy in, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you know, but he has this whole other career, so which is wonderful. But one of the things that I realized when I was rewatching it was that this movie totally aces the Bechdel test. I mean, it's got so many, like on beyond, like most George Lucas films have barely, like, you know, they did a supercut of the, you know, the 6 movies that he made, and it was like all the women speaking came to like 3 minutes or something, like, you know, aside from Leia, came to like 3 minutes. I mean, it's just ridiculous how few women are in them. But Willow, you know, is like, it starts out with like the you know, woman is having a Laura Dan and this baby, and the midwife, and then we see the evil queen, and she has her daughter Sorsha, who's like the badass, you know, trying to make her mother happy, and the sorceress, who's, you know, in animal form. I mean, this movie has a possum in it. Like,
There's
the greatest role ever for a possum in a film. Absolutely.
There's actually a really great YouTube video essay about how Willow is an amazing feminist movie, because all the highest authority figures are female, and then all the males report to the women. Like Laura Dannon is like the driving force of this movie, and Willow works for Laura Dannon. Madmartigan works for Willow, who works for Laura Dannon. Kale, you know, reports to I forgot the character's name. Well, yeah.
Sorsha.
Well, yeah, he reports to Sorsha, who reports to Madmartigan. So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, there's the Queen of the Brownies as well, whose name I'm not sure you find out. So she's sending, they're reporting to her, and she's sending them out. So
And another thing I thought was really great was like when she's Finn is in animal form, and Val Kilmer, Madmartigan, asking like, well, what do you look? She's like, I'm a young, beautiful woman, you know. But then she comes out, which I thought was a really poignant, great moment when she comes out as an old woman. I'm like, oh, that they totally could have went that route of this young, beautiful woman is Heidi causing another conflict, maybe a love triangle, and then having, you know, the young one take up. I thought it was so smart to have it come out and be this older woman, and then they have that big sorcerer.
Patricia Hayes is so good in the back end of that film as well, because there's something so magnetic about her that when she's on screen, you want to look at her, and it doesn't matter that Joanna Whalley's there, because when Patricia Hayes is on screen, you want to look at Patricia Hayes. It's an amazing quality she had. Amazing actress.
Really great.
And I mean, Joanna Whalley, I mean, she's just so darn cute. I mean, oh my God.
She's awesome in it, She's
so good. And she's just, you know, kicking ass. And, you know, I love the costumes in this movie. There is, you know, again, talking about why, for those who are in the Willow cult, this movie is so important. I mean, just the details, the background, and like just the look of it is really rich. You know, that's why I chose this background, this Bruegel painting. I couldn't actually find a still from Willow. But I felt it was just like, you know, it did do, the world building in the movie was like really good.
Absolutely, yeah. And
her arm, sorry, John, I was going to say, her, just to expand on your point about her armor as well, is it's the same as the men's. It's and she just looks amazing, doesn't she? And practical, and she's really chucking that sword about, and it's wonderful. It's especially for a younger girl, seeing her as a up there on the screen is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and they had. There was a storyline where she was obsessed with finding her father, and
I read that,
and they decided to cut it out because, you know, like it wasn't necessary, and it was more about the mother-daughter relationship. But there is footage of it. Her father, she comes across her father frozen in a crystal when they come to the castle. And they cut that scene out, but he's still in the movie at the very end of the movie. Where Madmartigan and she are standing next to this like old man who looks like Santa Claus. That's her father, and that was the only shot of him left in, because they were like, we can't edit around that. So
nice.
Wow.
Like, who's this random old dude?
Well, but also, I mean, among the other most amazing. When I was watching this movie, the best baby performance ever.
That's
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
could go. Yeah, she is incredible. The reactions that they get from her, where she's like, "What?" or like,
How did that's, and of course it was twins. It was twin babies,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
as it would have to be because, you know, it's illegal. But I mean, both of them. I mean, you know, and what happened to these children? I mean, these make the Ashley, you know, Olsen twins look like, you know, Loxes. I mean, these babies, they must have just sat there with the camera and like, it's amazing. I
Yeah.
know and the editor of Willow deserves an Oscar just for those baby shots.
Yeah.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
Yeah,
Gorgeous. I
those
said to my
babies studied
husband,
acting.
need one,
Yeah.
need one.
You've
Yeah.
got several, all right, Stacey?
Oh, I've got millions that
That's right.
all over.
I mean, those babies were you know, studied at the Royal you know, Dramatic Academy of Arts. So you
But,
know, they,
but I mean, it's even like the baby goes like raising one eyebrow. I mean, it's almost. I mean, maybe they just shot the baby and then like wrote the movie around the baby shot.
yeah, I'm sure they probably just held
There
the
were
camera to a
different
baby for like
babies in New
hours to get
Zealand.
the actions.
Really?
Apparently there was a different set of babies in New Zealand, so there's something like 5 babies I read
Wow.
Oh wow.
Wow.
altogether. But it always looks like the same baby, doesn't it? Apart from the initial just being born baby, which actually does look like a baby who's just been born, which never happens. They always look about
Right?
6 months when they pull them out.
Okay, I just looked up. 4 girls played the baby.
Oh,
Twins Kate and Ruth Greenfield are the only ones credited. It said, and they are
Laura Hopgood.
yeah. And then
Kirk
2 other
Kusner.
ones played it. Yeah. I'm just sort of scanning this article right now. Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, Laura Hopkirk and yeah. Oh, look at them all grown up. Look at them.
Oh wow, I gotta see that, man. I gotta check that out.
Very cute. All right.
So but you know, of course, the star of the movie.
It was a wig. Anyway.
Oh, it was. Of course, it was a wig. Well, but the star of the movie, aside from the baby might be the most amazing actor. But
Yeah.
giving it a run for the money is Val Kilmer.
hmm
I mean,
It's his movie, really. I know it's supposed to be Warwick Davis's movie, but it really isn't, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean it's unfair with. I mean, if you know Warwick Davis, it being his first role, like to go up against a heavy hitter like Val Kilmer is just kind of unfair. You know what I mean?
yeah. But I mean, this role, like, you know, everybody loves Han Solo, and there is something about that role and Harrison Ford, and you know, I mean, he did it as Indy too, but it's Han Solo. I mean, he's just never been so, right? no girl came away from watching that movie not loving Han Solo. And I have to say, Madmartigan is one of the few characters that just gets that same kind of rakish scoundrel hero quality.
Yeah, I think.
Lovable.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I watched this movie so much is because my older sister had a huge crush on Madmartigan. We would always be watching it.
I mean, I currently have a mad crush on Madmartigan. So
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. But one of
It's
the things,
hair as well.
yeah, but also one of the great things about his character is he constantly is talking about how great of a swordsman he is, and he doesn't show it until like almost the end of the movie.
Yes. I
So,
was
like,
expecting him to
he's
not
just-
be one.
Yeah, he's just talking about it, and he's not, you know, he's not the most noble character. So you're like, oh, he's already lied to the audience.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he just gets a sword in his hand, and you're like, you know, like
Oh,
Warwick
he is
Davis.
good.
He's like, you are great, you know. You're like, yeah. And the
That
great
was a great Warwick Davis.
and the greatest thing about that scene is right after Willow says that, he slips in this, he falls in the snow like Val Kilmer does. So it's like
Yeah.
It's such an amazing performance from him, because if you try and I think I read that John Cusack really wanted the role, and I think it wouldn't have been the same film even a little bit. And I really like John Cusack as well, but there's something
I saw that
about
too.
his charm and his it's it's not just
Swagger.
the animal magnetism. It's his charm and his cheek and his confidence. That he really just is. He's just fantastic in that film. You want to keep watching. It's all the little facial movements he makes as well. Even when he's not speaking, there's an eyebrow going, or there's a lip going, or there's something happening
really
for you to want to look at him.
Mostly.
And he's got his top off a lot, which I know
I
I'm
know.
very shallow. I'm so
But
shallow. I mean, the
I
depths
know.
of my shallowness,
I
no
mean,
bounds.
this movie is where the heroines stay dressed completely. The women are just dressed up in armor, covering everything, and Madmartigan is just constantly losing his clothes. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. I mean, it is like John. I haven't seen that short feature, but talking about Willow's feminist message. I mean, it was absolutely role reversal because he also gets the love potion and becomes all swoony over Sorsha, and I mean, I think what's interesting about the character is that you could see he's a badass. We meet him the first time in a cage. He's a criminal. He's been put in there because he did something bad, but the combination of the tough guy and the cute little thing always works. I mean, we see him with Alora, and he cares about Alora from the first time. It's never that he betrayed her. It's like the brownie stole her, or he got captured, and so we see him interacting with the baby, and it's very endearing. And so he almost goes against the tough guy trope for the whole movie, and he doesn't even have to show that he's such a tough guy. Because he does have just magnetism and charisma that it just works so much.
Well, I did feel like what John was saying about, when he gets a sword, suddenly he's really good.
Oh, yeah, right.
It did have a very Superman feel to where it's like, oh, I'm bumbling Clark Kent, but I get the sword, I'm like, dun, 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 like suddenly he's like this badass, which I thought was a kind of a cool way to play it. So very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely, and I think that's one of the reasons. I mean, as I was, preparing for this, I did look up some of the cult things. And Madmartigan is definitely the thing that people refer to most out of this movie. I noticed so many people have it as their screen name on Twitter or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the other thing, I mean, there's some very scary things in this movie.
Oh, there are elements of the movie that are a straight up horror movie, which is awesome. Like when everyone gets turned into pigs, like that's nightmare inducing. Some of the images, because there's like you'll see from the torso up a man like writhing in pain, but then from torso down he's like a pig already. It's like really scary. And then the trolls just messed me up.
The trolls are hideous. They're so hideous.
Yeah.
They remind me a little bit of the one in Big Trouble in Little China.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't like them either. And it's such an obvious costume as well, but there's something about it, the face, isn't it? That's just
it's almost too human.
Yeah.
It's not what you expect a troll to look like either. It's like it's like months.
And the rat dogs going to eat a child is a pretty scary image as well.
That's another one of those effects that really stands up though, like because I just rewatched the film today. I've watched it a lot, but I thought I'll rewatch it so it's fresh today, and that really, really stands up. It looks, I mean, I don't know how much more improvement they could do on that dog makeup today, to be honest with you. It looks really good. And that bit right at the beginning as well, when the dogs sort of invade the village and then they kill it, but then they just keep killing it, don't they? It's like they don't relent. Even that's there's something horrible, like awful about that too, isn't there? It's not all lovely in the Shire. I mean, in the village.
You got to make sure it's dead. Come on.
It's quite brutal. It is quite brutal though, isn't it?
Well, so that brings me to the real question about Willow, which is, it was the #1 movie that, but then it was quickly eclipsed by Crocodile Dundee 2, or something. I mean, it made $50 million, which in the late 80s was okay, but it wasn't Star Wars money. It wasn't Raiders of the Lost Ark money. And it wasn't a failure, but it certainly wasn't the success that they intended it to be. And that was it. I mean, there was Willow, there was a couple of books. And
the books I read that they kill off like Madmartigan and Sorsha almost immediately. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it takes place.
Chris Claremont.
It follows Alora
Yeah,
Dannon.
right?
It's like 20 years later or something like that, and it follows her story. But also,
Chris
yeah, this was
Claremont, come
also
on, man.
I think the last of the big budget, well, quote unquote big budget fantasy movies. This kind of
Yes.
put the nail in the coffin of the fantasy movie for a while. And even the financing. I read that Lucas funded half the budget himself. So there were
Yeah, they had to trade rights or something.
yeah,
you know.
even going into this, there wasn't a lot of support, but I feel like, you know, it's garnered a lot of praise over the years. I think it's one of those movies that does still hold up incredibly well, especially in the fantasy genre.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, it looks like, I also just watched it just, last night. And I have Disney Plus, so I guess it's in 4K, but I don't have but the high def, I mean, it looks like I said, the judicious use of effects that they had, like when they did them, it was ILM, like top notch. Like it was so innovative at the time, and they really look good. I mean, yeah, the brownies are, I mean, allowing for the fact that it was the time and the brownies are little guys, being cast, it still holds up so well, and it's so preferable to dumb CGI,
Yeah.
just CGIing everything. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it warms your heart. I mean, everything, like shooting the actors who are playing the Nelwyn and are, real people of size. And, just like when the high priest asks Willow, he says, "Do you have feelings for this baby?" And Willow is like, I know my whole life's going to be messed up if I do anything with this baby, but he's like, yes. And I love the fact that he's a father,
Oh, can we also
Yeah.
talk about? Can we also talk about his wife is an incredible
Yes.
female character too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
She
Like
is.
she's amazing as well.
That bit at the end when he runs to her and she starts running, but honestly gets me
Yeah.
right in the back of the throat every
Yeah.
single time.
It does. And they do the fake out at the beginning where they're like, the dogs are going and killing things in the village. It's like, Kaya. And then you're like, oh no, is it going to be the dead wife and he's got to avenge her story? And then she comes walking out with the baby. And you're like, oh, it's a happy couple who stays happy together.
Yeah.
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 Super cute.
Anyway, what I was getting at, I'm jumping all over, but there's so many things about this movie that we love. So why didn't it hit?
Huh.
I mean, maybe fantasy.
Yeah, keep breezing up a little there. Can you start that again? Maybe.
Yeah,
fantasy-
I'm having bad internet connection. I was just saying maybe fantasy fatigue at the box office. I can't tell because I can't see anything in this movie that I would criticize as bad. But this was on Siskel and Ebert. Like this was like one of the top movies on Siskel and Ebert's worst movies of the year. And I don't understand. I just don't understand it. You know what I mean?
Well, it's because they got named after a monster. They hated it, so
I don't think they even do.
It's
were like,
funny though,
"Screw
because
this film."
another sort of really one of my favorite films from being a child also was a complete flop at the box office, which was Clue.
Oh, yeah.
Film
Oh,
Clue
I
with
love
Tim
Clue.
Curry.
Yeah.
But that movie has, had a second life. I mean, it's become like a whole-
Absolutely, it has. But I don't know that you could explain why that one didn't work very well either. I think there's factors, isn't there? They weren't showing all of the endings. They did all sorts of tricks to make that work at the box office, but it didn't. So I know. The only film we went to see the pictures that year was Big, and we were so excited for that film.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's part of it, is that it's like, that it's like it could just be people weren't into seeing a movie starring Warwick Davis. They wanted to see like who's this guy? Like they had no idea who he was, and maybe people were
I think
like,
it
what
was
is
a
this
little bit
movie?
old-fashioned. I think it was a little bit old-fashioned. People were looking for a different kind of fantasy, because Big's a fantasy movie, isn't it? But it's not fantasy in the fantasy classic fantasy genre. Maybe it feels a bit old-fashioned.
But also at this point, Like I think like the Endor movies being as more fantasy than science fiction, like the Ewok movies, and those were straight to TV. So
Right.
I mean, maybe people were looking for the fantasy stuff on television instead of on in the movies. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think I mean I think you that's absolutely part of it, John, because you know, everybody wanted to make a movie that tapped into the massive love of Lord of the Rings, you know, the most popular novel of the 20th century.
Yeah.
But they all flopped, you know, Legend, Dark Crystal,
Yeah.
the Labyrinth,
Labyrinth,
you know,
yeah.
another cult movie
I've never
about
seen any of them.
yeah, so we have many more
You haven't
episodes.
seen, hang on a
know.
minute, you haven't
No,
seen The
no.
Labyrinth?
Yeah,
Nope.
yeah, I know. Jimmy's movies that he hasn't seen is the richest vein of
Yeah.
possible subject
But yet I've
matter.
probably seen 10 times as many movies as any of you combined.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But none of
You
them
haven't-
Except for
count.
John.
You haven't seen The Labyrinth? They don't count.
Yeah.
So I, you know, I think the fantasy I have one also. I will say, I think, like we said, this is one of Ron Howard's early films. I don't think he quite had a handle on the totality of the film. I think he captured the characters beautifully. Like everybody's in these close-ups and you see their faces. And I think that's why we're so endearing. And I
Yeah.
think that's why we love it. I think the action scenes are good, but they weren't up to Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know?
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
Yeah.
the fight scenes, I mean, even the sword scenes with Madmartigan, it's like the kind of one done, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
even the Princess Bride has a better sword fight, right? So
Mm.
I think he really,
Outstanding.
right.
Wait, pause.
right?
Jimmy, have you seen that?
Shut up. Yes.
Okay.
many times. Many,
Just
many
checking,
times.
just checking.
Okay.
Wait, the princess who?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have a funny story about that, but anyway. But yeah, I think that the action is good, but it's not so and like John and I were talking early before we started recording that like there's not any iconic shots of it. So I think Ron Howard as a filmmaker, I think his skill, he was still learning. He wasn't up to the level of like Apollo 13 at that point.
He had just come off of Gung Ho, so that probably had a lot to do with it. So.
But
you
but
know?
But I
also
do need to say that I agree with you about the sword fights, but that last fight between the two old ladies kicking the shit out of
Yes.
each other, that
Oh,
is
yes.
The old
fabulous.
lady
loved
fight
it
is
too.
absolutely great. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
but
Yeah.
but also that Heidi, you bring up an interesting point because I'm wondering if suffered from the same thing that Willow suffered from, with Ron Howard directing Solo, the Han Solo movie that just came out, where he got some of the stuff right, but maybe his second unit director wasn't the best second unit director or something. It's an interesting point that you bring up about maybe he's not the best at fantasy action movies. I'm not sure.
Yeah, or you know, I mean, this wasn't in his wheelhouse yet. I mean, I think the action Solo is fine. I mean, now it's just plug and play pretty much.
I love Solo.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't. I love it too.
Yeah, it's very underrated. Absolutely, I agree. And I think Howard makes, you know, films where you really care about the characters. You know, I
Absolutely.
mean, Cocoon was his breakout film, which is about the old guys. And I mean,
Splash was more, I think, but yeah.
and Splash. That's true. He made Splash after that too. But
Cocoon's
before that,
got a big
Splash was
soft
first.
spot for me as well because I think
Yeah.
it's got such a light touch and it's so beautiful.
I mean, I love Night Shift. I really did. That movie with Michael Keaton and Henry,
right. That's
Henry
another good
Winkler.
one.
I
Yeah.
love that film. Like, that was the
Yeah.
first time I saw Michael Keaton. I was like, this guy's great.
Yeah.
I love Michael Keaton.
So I think maybe what we're saying though is that you know, Willow, for those of us who are predisposed to like a fantasy movie that's got possums and swordsmen and skulls and evil queens and cute babies and little people and brownies, fairies, it's perfect, right? But then
Yeah.
if you weren't into the genre of it, maybe I think the film maybe was fine. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it didn't have that cut above, obviously, you know, that maybe it just didn't draw in as many people who weren't into it because of that. So
Well, I think
don't know.
it's a
That's my
lot of
theory.
what everyone said, like maybe fantasy fatigue. I really do think that people probably didn't want to see a movie with maybe a little person as a lead people were like, who? And also they had no idea who he was, and like, because
Right.
anytime he was in a movie, he was in costume in Star Wars, he was.
But he wasn't the
like-
top villain though, was he? Val Kilmer was.
Sure,
So
yeah, but I feel,
he had an audience by then though, surely.
But look at if I remember.
Had he done
the
Top Gun
posters
yet?
Were more,
Yeah, yeah.
Were definitely featured Willow more. You definitely saw Val Kilmer in them, but I think the posters were mostly, there's Warwick Davis right in the front.
And I'm also wondering if Willow resonates with folks who see it at a younger age because they don't give a crap about top billing and stuff.
Right, exactly. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And also, when I was a kid, I think somebody is going to say something negative about the brownies, but when I was a kid, I thought those were absolutely freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
That bit, when he hits the love potion and he falls in love with the cat.
Yeah.
Come on, where do you see that in any other?
Yeah.
When I was in middle school, the brownie dialogue was the most I would quote when I was thinking.
No, they're very, very funny, and I love them both. The comedians and actors from Pollock has obviously gone on to be very, very big, but the only thing I said, they did feel like they were in a different movie. Like they would just stop into Willow on occasion,
Yeah.
but for the most part, they're living their own life,
So
doing their own thing.
How much did the little people, the brownies and Willow, remind you of the little people in Army of Darkness?
It's interesting.
Oh.
There's
Yeah.
there is a video essay on YouTube where they compare them, and they think Sam Raimi because he used a different technique to capture the little ashes. It's more successful than what they did in
Absolutely, it is. I mean, that was like just a couple years later.
Yeah.
But I do agree, his little people, like the little ashes, are a lot more effective than the brownies.
Did you guys see the little documentary, the behind the scenes video that's from the DVD? It's on YouTube. So they played this whole thing on the behind the scenes where they're interviewing Rick Overton and Kevin Pollak, but as their characters.
Oh,
so lame. And then where and even the other actors played along as if they were really that tiny. Like, look at us, they got us a Barbie dream house, make our home. I'm like, oh really, you guys? And then Ron Howard would come on or Val Kilmer, like, yeah, they're really annoying and they're really good. I was like, okay, you're letting the joke go a little too long.
I love the sound of that. I think that sounds awesome. I need to see that once.
I know.
I have never I want to see, we have our listeners who are my cousin Ellen and my cousin Alice, who were raised on Willow. Ellen and Alice, do you have anything to add about this? If you want to jump on, feel free.
It's $5 an opinion.
Yeah, no, it's not. Come on.
Okay, it's family. It's fine. You're for free.
Yeah, it's family. I might call you out here, Ellen.
Yeah, come on and join us.
Are you guys here? Let's see if they're here even. All right. Well, if you're hearing this,
I'm here.
They're watching the Blackpink video I sent them.
Our video.
Yeah. So what do you guys think?
Well, after hearing you compare it to a horror movie, I have to kind of agree, because I remember being, I think I'm on the younger end of the siblings that was introduced to Willow, so I was pretty young when it came out, and the scene with the two witches fighting at the end used to terrify me. I hated the furniture that came alive.
Oh yeah, because it's got the skeleton inside of it.
Horrifying. That. Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, I agree.
Have you seen? Sorry to interrupt you. Just because you've mentioned that, have you seen Return to Oz? Because Jean Marsh is in that, of course, who plays the Wicked Queen as the Wicked Queen in the Return to Oz, and that's quite terrifying as well. I don't know if you.
No, I don't think I've seen that.
That's the thing that nightmares are made of.
But
a lot of kids' movies are very nightmarish. So
yeah. Wait, Ellen, can you describe? And Alice, also feel free. But Ellen, can you describe a little bit about the Willow tradition in your family?
Well, I mean, other than watching it all the time, I guess us younger siblings were called pecks.
That's a derogatory term.
Yep. It was get me some water, you measly little peck. My older siblings, and I mean, Alex on the call wasn't really part of that, I guess. I don't remember her calling me a
She's like, yes, I was.
I
yeah,
remember.
don't know.
I remember Colin being the biggest peck. He was the one that we called the peck the most. And we would always quote, "There's a peck with an acorn staring at me," or whatever it was, like all the time.
Help! Nice.
Yeah.
No
But
one
it
called
was-
anybody an Ebersisk.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
But
Get
it
out,
was-
Ebersisk.
It was Ellen and Alice. It was like, I mean, you just watched, like I said, you had two videotapes and you just watched them over and over again, right?
Yeah, pretty much. The Princess Bride and that.
Oh,
yeah.
that is a great
That's-
childhood, man.
I mean,
It is.
That's
that's the
awesome.
thing, like,
That's what I'm going to do today.
yeah, like when I was young, we had the HBO, and anything that played in HBO, we watched 100 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somehow this
Return
didn't
of the
play
Jedi
in HBO,
for
I
me.
guess. Like, all the Star Wars films, which I of course saw in the theater. But I remember movies like I should not have been watching History of the World Part 1 at that age, and I fucking love that film to this day because I probably saw it 100 times when I was 10 or 12, or what it was. Same thing with like just random movies like the pirate movie, Take Off with the Pirate that Penzance. I watched that all the time. Like all these random films that would just pop on. You just because there was nothing else to do as a kid back then. You had this new thing called cable. You're like, ooh, I'm old. For listeners out there, I'm an old.
Hey, we only had 3 channels when I was a kid. So.
We had 4. Yeah, before cable, we had 3: the ABC, NBC, CBS, and then later on came these 2 independent channels in Florida where I'm from. So we had 5 for a long time. Yeah, so I feel you. But yeah, Willow just passed me by somehow. I
Yeah.
don't know.
So, Ellen and Alice, anything that you disagree with that we were saying here? Anything that made you angry and said we must defend Willow?
And remember, we have the power to mute you.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I agree. It just brought up some interesting points. I never really thought of it as a horror movie because I feel like I always had to kind of tough it out, and even though I was terrified of some of the parts because
Aw.
Well,
everybody else thought it was really badass, but it was.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
how
that's one of the.
old were you both when you first saw it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm 35 now, so not
Yeah.
like a baby, but
I mean, I'm 70 and I just saw it. So.
Yeah. So, all good. Yeah.
But I think that's one of the greatest things about the movie. I mean, predominantly it's a fantasy movie, but it is an adventure movie. It is a sci-fi movie. It's a family movie at times. It does kind of check a lot of the boxes, and maybe
It's
that's
a
one of the
comedy movie at times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um,
And
It was just-
oh, go, Alice. I'm sorry.
I
go
was
on.
just gonna say it was kind of exciting for me to hear that other people watched it over and over and over, because I thought that was just something in our family, because there's been times when I've been like to people outside of our family like, hey, let's watch Willow, and they've been like, okay. And in fact, my daughter, who's 5, she hasn't seen it yet, and we just discovered that it's on Disney Plus, and we've been like, oh my god, we have to show it to her,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of afraid to, because if she hates it, then we have an issue. We
Oh, you have to
resolve.
give her
So-
away.
Yeah. All Alice's friends would see her coming. Here comes that Willow girl.
Wait, for me, often that movie is it's the Monty Python and the Holy Grail and Big Trouble in Little China, which are what we watched over and over and over again.
nice.
And the first time I introduced that to my eldest daughter, who's 19 now, she was about 8 or 9, and I sat her down and I said, if you don't like this film, you have to leave.
If Stacey would have followed through with
Luckily.
Yeah, there is a family test. Ellen and Alice, when we do have a big family reunion, hopefully someday when this world is able to do it, we gather for Christmas. And you guys, when we go have Christmas, because of the size of the family, like a small Christmas is 14 people and a large Christmas is 20 people, 22 people, and there's more babies coming all the time. So
Amazing.
yeah, so I think we need to have a big Willow Fest, don't you think?
Wait, is there a daughter or son named Alora Dannon at all?
not yet.
Like there's
Not
7
yet. I
We've
love
got
it.
an Aurora, so close.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's funny is I
Rosa-
had a friend growing up, and I never knew the correlation. I don't think there was one, unless his parents were really cruel. And his real name was this really very proper, like Devlin or something like that. But for some reason, his nickname was Peck. I don't know why. And back then, I had no reason to understand any correlation to it. Now I'm curious if his parents were like, just like, we just gave birth to a little Peck. Let's call him Peck.
Well,
But
that's
for your
amazing.
Heidi, for your family reunion, since you know, like John as well, we love a musical, and I used to do it for a living. I will have to write a Willow musical for you because I've already got one going on, doing a spoof of Pick a Little, Talk a Little from Music Man. Peck a little, talk a little, peck, peck, peck. So I'll go with something.
That was one of the things I had a note to talk about, was the soundtrack, actually, because I thought it was absolutely beautiful.
Oh, great.
And I don't remember that from being a kid and younger. I only just noticed that today. It's funny, isn't it, that as you get
Oh,
older, you
wow.
possibly notice these things more, maybe. But it's really beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really think so.
the hero theme for this movie is
Uh-oh,
I would just
John,
like
you
take.
froze.
I would like. Sorry, I'm
You're good,
freezing.
You're good. You're good.
I would just
Yeah,
like hum the theme song as I would like either be riding on my bike, or I would like grab a stick from the woods and be beating up a tree like Madmartigan.
Show us this in pantomime right now, John. How you
I cannot. I might freeze again, so I don't want to.
No.
I don't want to freeze in a weird
you
position.
grab the stick and you're humming along. Let's see
Uh-huh. No.
it. Okay, riding a bike. You're riding a bike.
When we break quarantine, we can have a big event in the
Yeah.
park.
Yes.
All right.
Let's
Excellent.
do it.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
okay, so our final segment is the talk is that for Disney Plus, they are talking about a Willow TV show. It'll be the Willowlorian,
Yeah,
the Amanda Nelwyn.
And it's a sequel. It's a
And
sequel. It's not a remake.
yes.
Yeah.
It's not a remake. It's got to be a sequel. So set in the world of Willow, but with new and amazing things. So it's not a remake, but Jimmy, do you have any casting thoughts? If they
Well,
were to
I have a casting for a remake actually.
Yes.
So let's go.
Okay.
Let's say they do a
want to hear
remake.
this.
Let's say they do a remake, and here it is. So here's my casting. I didn't get every character, but so for Willow, now you guys saw one of my favorite films a couple years ago, The Greatest Showman. No, the Greatest Show. Yeah. So the young man who played Tom Thumb, Sam Humphrey, he's great. He's of I think he's either some Filipino or some Samoan in him as well. So I think he'd be great. And that was not his real voice in the movie, of course, singing or talking. Because it's a much higher voice, I believe, higher register. So I think Sam Humphrey as Willow would be great.
Those also in Greatest Showman. Those aren't his real legs either. He's a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a little bit taller than that, actually.
Yeah. He's like he's right at 4 feet maybe, or right under or something like that, I think. Yeah. And then as Sorsha, I'd go with Chloe Bennett. Chloe Bennett from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Wait,
Oh,
who?
right.
Wait, who?
Chloe Bennett, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
She plays, doing the motions of her power. And
She looks really like a younger Alyssa Milano, I think. She looks, there's something about her that,
Yeah.
a little bit. And then for Madmartigan here, I'm going to go with Ludi Lin. Now, you may know him from, he was the Black Ranger in Power Rangers. He was in an episode of Black Mirror.
Oh.
He's going to be in the upcoming Mortal Kombat
Oh.
remake as Liu Kang.
He was also in an episode of Black Mirror.
Yes, in Black Mirror. Yeah,
Say that, sorry.
absolutely. Yeah, he was in the one about the video game one. Yeah, with so that's on my Madmartigan. For Queen Bavmorda, I'd have Michelle Yeoh. She'd be.
I love her.
They should just make her be Queen Bavmorda anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
right?
She is fantastic.
Just write a role for her in that Willow show, okay?
Yeah.
Please.
That'd be great. For Finn Raziel, going back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Ming Na Wen. Because I would love to see like a fight between Michelle Yeoh and Ming Na Wen at the end.
Oh.
Come on now.
Wow.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon
Wow.
versus come on. That'd be amazing.
Oh.
And I think as a upgrade to his role he had in the original Willow, make Tony Cox the new High Aldwin. And he's great because Tony Cox, of course, went on to, we know from Bad Santa and many other roles he went on to do. But he'd be a great High Aldwin, I think. For our two little favorite brownies, Rule and Frangine, I would go with Aquafina and Kevin Hart. Right? Like perfect, because of the way their cadence, the way their voices would be so funny.
Yeah,
I could see them together, riffing off of each other. Would be hilarious. I think would be hilarious. And Burglecut, the village dick,
This is the one I want to know because we didn't talk about Burgo Cut, but I love
Oh,
that
that's
guy.
right. Yeah,
He's
yeah. We
awesome.
did talk about him. So
So we're
Burgo Cut,
getting
the Village
shit
Pig.
on.
I figure we got to go with an award-winning little person actor. We got to bring in Dinklage.
Yeah.
Peter Dinklage in.
Oh,
Little Peter Dinklage in.
Yeah.
Rumored
And,
to have actually been in the film uncredited, actually, in Willow,
Oh, yeah?
the original film. Yeah,
What?
but uncredited. Yeah,
Wait, what?
I read that. Yeah, I read it today saying
But
that he was.
He must have
Did
been
you
a
write it
child.
down and then you read it,
It
or
was-
you actually read it on an article?
I read it on an article. He would have been about 18, so
Oh, all right.
Hmm.
Well, then he gets an upgrade too.
the
Perfect.
chances are that he was in it because the cast of Little People was enormous.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
the chances are that he was there.
okay. All right, so
Wow.
just a few more.
Game of Thrones. The
Yeah,
connection.
nice.
Hmm.
So the last three, I got General Kyle is Dave Bautista, because come on, Dave Bautista, man. Sherlindria, which is the Brownies spirit, forest spirit, Gemma Chan, because let me tell you what, Gemma Chan, who of course is in the Marvel films now, but I knew her from that great, where she played in AI, that great series Humans, and she's done so many great things.
Crazy
And I
Rich Asians.
interviewed her. Yeah, Crazy Rich Asians, of course. And meeting her in person, she literally glows in person. She is so beautiful. She is so stunning, and like,
Oh, like
it's
me.
also-
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I was gonna say like meeting her, like I first met Stacey. But she just is also, she's a great actress, and she has a great voice too. Like her not just her accent, but just her, she's obviously a well-trained actress. Would be, I think, really great for Sherlindria. And then finally, as director, I see Ava DuVernay get another shot at fantasy, because there was a little misstep with the Disney one, but let's give her a shot at this. I think she'd probably do a pretty good job of this, wrangling this crew. So that's my modern remake of Willow.
Very nice.
Enjoy.
Me likey. Me like. Yeah.
Oh, John, you could play the two-headed monster.
Ah,
Yes, John could be the
Or you
monster.
can be the two-headed monster.
Oh,
and
do you
the
know,
troll.
wouldn't it be
and the-
lush if they did
He's a
it?
big puppetry background.
Wouldn't it be lush if they, like, so if we're going to talk about sort of wishful thinking, that if they do remake it, they would do it with the Henson Company? Because do you know
Oh,
what you were
yeah.
talking about earlier, Heidi, about how
That John, you would be involved.
some of the charm is from the fact that there is so little visual effects in it.
Right.
Me and my husband have been rewatching. Well, he's never seen it, so he's watching it from the beginning. Farscape, which I'm
Oh,
a massive
nice.
fan of.
Yeah.
But it's new to him. So bear in mind, it's what, 20, nearly 30 years old now. Oh God, no, it's not that old, is it? It's about
No, Farscape?
20 something years old. It's
Oh, okay.
the effects stand up because so many of them are real effects.
Yeah.
They're puppets and they're real, and it's makeup. And so Scorpius's makeup is so terrifying still that and to keep that charm factor, wouldn't it be nice if they kept that going, that real effects, that real
Yeah.
puppets and stuff, rather than going down the big visual highway? I think
Well,
that would be wonderful.
if the Disney shows are anything, if they're gonna stick with the Mandalorian mindset, then yeah, like 80% of it will be practical, and then they'll heighten the practical with digital later, because the documentary
Talking
on
about the series, right?
yeah, like the documentary about making the Mandalorian, you see a lot of the practical effects, which are pretty awesome. Like all the different puppeteers it took to bring the child into life and stuff. So that probably would happen if a Willow TV show happens. So
Well, I would like to see
because
that happen.
John, if you guys don't know, John, besides being a fantastic Broadway actor, also has large background in puppetry. He actually took a course or studied with Jim Henson's company, all this other stuff.
That's
So
so
I think
cool.
John, let's make a call to Ron Howard right now.
You gotta be.
Ron, you there?
Yep. John Hoche. We got the guy. We got the two-headed guy.
John can
Yeah.
be the head of puppetry for. You see, that's what I meant by the two-headed monster and the.
oh, I see. I thought you were like,
Running the
Oh,
puppetry.
right. There's no
Running the puppetry of it.
backpedaling going on here at all.
Woo! Well, I hope it happens. I mean, I always say no IP is ever wasted. And I do, I feel like a lot of people love Willow. It's not just my family. I mean, my family is definitely primed to love Willow, but I think a lot, like you guys, it's really nice
Watch it
to hear
again.
you.
I liked it.
Yeah, you guys. And I just, I think it's like a really sweet, beautiful fantasy story with, I mean, it's a little bit generic, but I just think that the details
Sure.
of it are very sweet and endearing. And I think it would make I think it would be a good TV show. So let's hope, I really hope they do it. I think it would be nice to see it come back.
Yeah. Well, let's real quick,
Yeah.
because John wanted to, since I brought it up, what did you want to say about Burgle Guy?
Just like he's a great character, and we
He
didn't really
really
get to
is.
talk about him, but he's
Such a
hilarious. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, he's such a good, jerk.
That.
Yeah.
To be
Because he's
nice
like the
about it.
bigger guy in the village, so he's a bully, and he use that against people. But he's
And he
also, of
keeps
course,
getting
he's a
shit
coward.
on by birds.
Literally.
Yeah, or
Or
puked on by
Puked on,
babies.
yeah.
Thrown up on,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, everybody loves that character that gets, bodily
Yeah.
fluids flung
And
on
what a
them.
great name too.
Yeah.
Burgle Cut.
Burgle Cut.
So,
Yeah.
Burgle Cut. Burgle Dick. Anyway.
Well, anyway, all good, all good. Well, this is great,
Yeah.
you guys. I'm so glad we finally got to talk about Willow. So we'll have to find
Yeah.
some more movies that Jimmy hasn't seen.
Well, there's a
There's a
slew
shame.
of them.
We should change the name of this podcast to Movies Jimmy Hasn't Seen.
Oh my God. There's a lot.
Maybe
It's
we can do like a
ridiculous.
maybe we can do like a
That's
Twitter
good.
poll or something.
Yeah, right?
It's
yeah.
ridiculous the amount of stuff I've seen. Again, it's probably more than most. It's definitely way more than most people. But the big sort of culty, sci-fi fantasy ones that I haven't seen. Like I just recorded because it was playing on HBO. Dune, because I've never seen Dune, so I'm gonna watch that soon. I know, but I know John's face is like, because that's probably why I didn't see it. But like the ones like Willow, like Legend, like Labyrinth, I remember
You
them
haven't
coming out
seen
being like,
Legend.
nope, haven't seen Dark Crystal. They were never in his story. They were like, I remember seeing bits
Oh,
and pieces of them.
Don't watch
but I
it now.
just- no, I'm gonna watch
It's not. I think it's too close to the bone at the minute with the
Oh, I
world on
see.
fire the way it
Okay.
is. Nobody needs to be pulling a horse out of the river right now. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No art
that is a-
tax. Art
I
tax.
don't mind any of the apocalyptic stuff. I just watched like some
That film,
summer series.
I
yeah.
can't actually watch it as a grown up. It makes me cry too much. It's too much.
But I could probably come up with a list of films.
But a
that I
great
feel
great
are-
theme song to that one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
true.
also feel I could probably come up with a list of films that are considered really big, important films that you guys probably haven't seen. So there.
Hey,
All
right.
we're not
Art
arguing.
housey
We're
ones.
just bringing up, bringing to light.
Yeah.
Have
Oh,
you
there's-
guys
hey,
seen Giant? One
But
my
none of
favorite
those
films.
count because you haven't seen the Labyrinth.
Yes, Giant. James Dean's last movie with Elizabeth Taylor and Rock Hudson versus Labyrinth. Yeah, you're right. It's the same.
It's exactly. It's yeah. You
They're the
lose
same
everything.
movie. It's the same script.
You know what? I think.
yeah, pretty much.
That'd
Pretty
be
much.
amazing.
Elizabeth Taylor. Yeah, pretty much.
If you haven't seen Giant, watch it. It's amazing.
Have you
Um,
seen Jimmy? Have you seen Repo Man?
Nope. I know of it. Again, I know of it. Nope, didn't see it.
Ooh,
I
that
didn't
might
see.
be.
Let's just keep crapping on Jimmy what he hasn't seen. What else?
No,
have
no,
you seen?
no. Well, yeah, ask me if I've seen a movie.
I didn't
haven't
see-
seen tons of movies. I haven't seen millions of movies.
What's another one people were talking about recently was oh god, I can't remember. But yeah, there's several. There's several.
You know which
Pretty good.
film I've never seen? I have never seen Fight Club. I get shit for that.
We don't
one.
talk
that's
about
fine.
Fight Club. We don't
You
Yeah,
talk.
we don't talk
yeah,
about
we don't talk about
You don't.
I've seen that several times in the theaters, but that's not considered to me not considered like a must see. I don't think. It's like it's a good film, but I don't think it's like one of these things that like these are movies they're talking about that I'm getting made fun of, which is I know you're kidding, but is that felt like especially as a nerd, I feel like I should have seen.
Yeah.
I even feel
Like,
that.
you have to give
I
your
feel I
license
should've
back
seen
because you haven't seen
I
Labyrinth.
even
I'm not even
know-
joking.
Yeah.
I even
know.
know one of the
That's
puppeteers on Dark Crystal. He's a regular at my bar. And he was one of the original puppeteers in Dark Crystal. And he's like, have you seen it? Every time he comes in, have you seen it yet? I'm like, nope.
Have you seen Short Circuit?
Yes. Of course. I saw that great racist portrayal of a character.
I mean,
It's
yeah.
Fisher Stevens as well, of course,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's
Yeah.
I had a really big crush on Steve Guttenberg when I was growing up. I thought he was just.
We
Was
all
that-
did. Come
Did
on.
you get a crush on him in Cocoon and then it transitioned to Short Circuit, or
Or was it Three Men and a Baby? Or
It
the
might be
Police
Three Men and
Academy
a
movies?
Baby, and then the Police
Police
Academy. Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Oh
seen all
no,
the
High
Police Academy
Spirits.
films.
It's a terrible film. High Spirits was the one I really loved. It's Have you seen that one?
I've
High
never seen
Spirits. High Spirits.
Never
High
seen
Okay.
that.
Spirits with
Okay.
Peter O'Toole and Beverly D'Angelo.
Oh, yes. Where the
Hannah.
goes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a terrible film.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson, I think it might have been one of his first roles, actually. Yeah.
Mm.
There you go.
So that's where he learned his particular set of skills. All right, so we should wrap this up, yeah?
Yeah, we should definitely. But thank you guys. I really, really enjoyed it as always. Really,
this was
really,
Heidi's
really
pick.
fun. Yep. So next time we got Jimmy's
So
gonna
next week we're gonna do, and he's actually in the chat room with us right now, Ali. Hello, Ali. It's a buddy of mine with another friend of his, Jessica. We're going to talk about cosplay because they actually do it professionally and are hired.
Ooh, all right.
So I thought it'd be kind of interesting and fun to talk about cosplay. We're going to try to have my friend Dr. Andrea Letamendi on in a couple weeks as well to talk about the psychology of things, in the nerd world as well. But we got lots coming up, and as things open up, we may change the schedule. We may move Friday to another day because I may start back to work again if you can remember what that is. And
we're also trying to figure out how to live stream this so you could actually watch it. So at a time when people can watch it, and promote it and do it more. So anyway, so we're just learning. I mean, this pandemic is just getting started, so we have lots of time, right?
It's still the first wave over here in the States.
So, yeah, we're just getting over the first little bump. We just learned how to do it. So yeah, more to come.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
All
thank you guys very much for having me as well. I've had such fun. Thank you so much.
This
was
awesome. Fantastic. Perfect. So just everybody want to say where you could find yourself, where everyone could find you on the web, please. Stacey, you want to go first?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, which is Whittle Waffle, or on Twitter, at Stace_W, because I'm very creative with names.
You can find me at JONHOCHE all over social media.
Creative as me with the names, then, John. Great.
And I'm Comic News Insider, comicnewsinsider.com, as you see. But I'm at Jimmy Aquino, JIMMYAQUINO on Twitter, on Instagram. It's the best place to find me. And hopefully next week when you see me, I'll still have my left eye intact.
Yes, you will. You will. And I'm Comics Ace everywhere. COMIXACE on all social media. Big shout out to my cousins Ellen and Alice for joining us today.
Ooh, Ellen,
it was
Alice,
really nice.
you.
Yeah, it was really nice to make a little family affair out of this and to
Big
talk
Willow
about
nerds.
one of our big Willow nerd family. So thank you so much for coming by.
Nice to meet you. Thanks.
Yeah, and thanks for listening, everyone out there. So until next time, beware a peck with an acorn.
I'm nodding disapprovingly. Peace out, guys.
Yeah. All right. Hold at